We now are moving so quickly, we're moving so rapidly that we don't have time to pause. And what we want is a commodity. We want it at the least cost. We want it now, and we do not care about any of the other trivial things that accompany it. So how can a small businessman survive? It is most difficult because the people will not patronize small groups any longer. So that is a period that is fading away. I don't think we'll ever be able to recapture it because we cannot go back to yesterday. And I don't think the small businessman can survive in the atmosphere where people are looking for something quickly, at the lowest possible cost, now.
You know, there were 34,000 banks in the United States in 1930, 1929, and 30. And at the end of the Depression, there had been less than 4,000 still open without rechartering or something of the kind. Yeah. So, and we were one of the 4,000. When the banks closed here for 2 years, people asked me to pick up their deposits and take them to Adrian because there was no bank here. And I went around the town every morning and picked up the deposits and took them to Adrian. There were, at times, I would have $50,000 laying on the seat of my car by the side of me.
I think my mother's done a darn good job. She'd always done this kind of work. And so to her, it's like she's reached her peak on this. She wants to do more, but I think she better stick with this. And for myself, that's just not what I had in mind. She bought this 7 years ago, and she's ran it continuously, owned and operated it since that time. But that's too much responsibility. You've got too many things to worry about. I thought my mother was crazy when she bought this place. She called me one morning, she says, guess what I did? I bought the center. I said, you're crazy.
Really and truly, my mother raised us that we had to work. My father was gone a lot of the time, and I had to help my mother and my sisters. We all worked together. Our family worked. Everybody worked. I had an opportunity in 1952, January the 15th to be exact, to get into the automobile business for myself. I'd been a sales manager for Fenton's. I bought a half interest in Queen Motors with Homer Queen. After 2 years, I bought Mr. Queen out and changed it to Bud Bennett Motors. And I kept that up until September the 15th, 75, when I sold the agency and kept the real estate.
Her daddy was my brother, and she's always been awful close to us.
If it hadn't been for Dad, though, I wouldn't have been where I'm at.
No, that's right.
He really helped. He helped us to get started. My dad did.
Yeah.
When we lived in with them, and then we bought Stuart Alexander. We had a store down there for 5 years, and when we bought down there, he loaned us the money to buy that because we didn't have any income. And then when we moved up here, he helped us. He loaned us the money or went to the bank and borrowed the money, went on our note at the bank. So, and then they moved over here. They're the ones that lives over here. They moved over here. And he just helped me. That's all there is to it. And whenever, if I had needed to go someplace or anything, he was here ready to help me. And in fact, that's the only reason I think he moved down here, was just to help me out.
My mother and father started here in 1918. They started on the corner up here at Shannon's Hardware in 1918. Moved here in 1918. And this is one of the oldest continuing businesses that's going on in this county and in this the city. We didn't own the filling station there. The pumps sit out front here, and they were hand pumps where you pumped the gasoline up at invisible globes and then drained it into the cars. This was my home, which is now our office, and I was born here in 1922. And then we went from there. Got in the post and rail fence business in 1929 at 30, which we're still in, and that's the fence like you see in front of the hotel over there. We shipped that all over the United States. We acquired this property when we bought West Swimming Pool in 1963. That's built on a vacant lot, just a big hole in the ground we filled with the dirt from a lot of it came from the old college football field where Rockefeller Center now stands.
I'm sure that I would do well in some other business because I have been in business practically all my life. That's all I know, business. I did it all myself. I'm by myself. I'm a self-made man. I didn't give up. I put 28 washers in here and 8 more dryers in here in this room. And now this is the largest laundromat in the state of West Virginia. Hell, I don't know. I started off in my young days with nothing. July the 1st, I'll be 60 years old. I weigh 180 to 190 pounds. I control myself that way. I'm careful what I eat and how much I eat when I get hungry.
Well, I've just sold my car business, my lot, my building, on a lease purchase agreement, and I'm sure the guy's going to take it. And I bought this gas station. My wife wanted something to do, and she is operating this in its entirety. She has lots of problems. There's a monumental amount of paperwork that she has to go through today, keep records for the state, federal government. There's just so many things that the small businessman has to go through because of the harassment and the large backlog of paperwork that is set upon us by the Washington and the state bureaucracies.
Yeah, we spend about 13 hours a day here. It isn't been many days that we've been off. A couple days a year, usually. Well, we close on Christmas and Thanksgiving.
We started in 1971 essentially as an insurance agency and a real estate firm. The insurance was self-supportive. It wasn't a profit. There was not a great deal of profit involved, and the real estate was, at that point in time, very profitable. In 1973, we had as everyone will remember, the first gas shortage. And my business depended upon out-of-state, Washington, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland personnel, people coming in to buy our rural land for vacation homes or as investments. Well, that gas shortage put a crunch stopped it dead. So I moved into working for Consolidated Coal Company at that point, doing the title and a coal leasing project for them. But that crisis in '73 forced me to do it. Otherwise, I never would have.
You know, my advice to anyone today that is thinking of going into business, you have to analyze a lot of things. If you're going to go in business, where? You have to have a place to go in business. What is the rent going to be? What is your overhead going to be? The secret of being successful in any business is controlling your overhead.
In order to be successful, I've managed to have people that are super. that care, that are diligent, that worry about what they do today, what the quality of how the quality of their work is, that they're there every day. I don't have to worry about absenteeism because my people are proudly the best there are in what we do.
I sure do feel successful, and it was just good management on my part of business, how I handled it. I'm proud of myself.
What is necessary in this life to make a success out of yourself is hard work and
Good management.
and liking what you do. I have a very good friend that his statement is this, that if you get up in the morning you don't want to go to work, you better look for another job.
And eventually I sold in '75, we sold the insurance agency altogether. It got to be the point that it was no longer fun anyway. The paperwork was burying. You'd come in the morning and the stack would be a foot high on the desk, and all I could do was sit and sign forms. I couldn't go out and acquire policies, and I couldn't talk with the people. I had to do the red tape work, and I hated that.
I enjoy this. It's hard work, but you don't get anything if you don't work for it. The Bible says, you're bread by the sweat of your brow, so that's the way I feel.
If you're willing to apply yourself anytime, I don't care when it is, anyone can make a good living. But it's the hours after the 8 hours that really makes you successful.
It's almost day and night, you might say, except when you're not sleeping. When you're in business, in this coin-op business. My golden rule is, if you take care of your business, it'll take care of you. And it paid off.
You know, the A students have little trouble, and they'll make it. The D students have problems. The C students have some problems. But the C students and the B students are really the backbone of the country. They're the ones that do the work. They're the ones that pays the bills.
I didn't want to go into accounting or bookkeeping or anything of that sort. I did have a course in business college, and it helped me somewhat, but not all that much. I didn't think I could do this.
If it wasn't for the help of the Lord, I couldn't get along. I just leave everything up to Him, because I know with everything that, I've had a lot of trials and tribulations, and AC was sick for many years, and I had most of it to do. But after all, he was here with me. It wasn't like being alone now.
There is a lot of work to it, especially when a woman is by herself.
After AC died, she kept bugging me, well, why don't you just sell out and leave? You've not got nothing up here. And at the time being, I felt like I didn't have anything.
Sure.
But then I realized that I had my friends, and like I say, I knew that I had to go ahead and live. Yeah. You can't pull up and leave just because things don't go right. That's right. Because things don't go right and things are rough, and you just can't pull up and say, well, I'm done. I'm going to quit.
It gives me a really good sense of security in myself. I don't have to be entirely dependent on somebody else, ever.
I have a boy and a girl, but they're younger, and they don't, Linda wouldn't ever take this business. And she does the mail for me occasionally, but when she comes up here, she'll say, I'll be trying to get a meal, and somebody wants gas or somebody wants something out of the store, and Linda will say, boy, I don't see how you do this. I just wouldn't do this. There's an easier way to make a living, she'll say. And I'll say, well, maybe there is an easier way to make a living, but, this is my way.
This is home.
Uh-huh.
How did you pull the bank through the Depression?
Mister, I can't tell you.
Nerve and confidence. At that time, a man's word was his bond as much as anything. Is that right, Hill?
People came to me and asked, are you going to be able to keep your bank open? If you are, I will leave my money with you. If not, I'll move it to someplace else. The only thing I could tell them was that if the people left their money in the bank with us, that we were solvent and we would pull through. If they decided to take their money out, why, we would have to close. That was the way we pulled the bank through.
This fella had a knife. He had another guy fighting with him, and I ran up and grabbed his hand like that, and he came down and got me with a knife. Just a small cut, but shook me up a little bit. I got hit under my chin with a glass full of beer. This guy just, really laid a good one on me. Shook me up, but I didn't hit the floor. I've had ice trays thrown at me, cue sticks, just cue balls. You have to learn to be a good dodger.
We took orders. They got the money from the cash jar, and when Hill Stump saw his opportunity, he kicked the bandit and then grabbed the gun and shot him. They were able to get in their car and make their getaway, but one man died on his way down to Buchanan, and the other man, I had called
I followed him in a car, and
Hill followed him in the car after reloading his gun, and they were both caught, and one was killed and the other man was caught and served his term. That was another point of advertisement for the bank, was thwarting the bank holdup people.
Still they have $1 in their pocket. They do not want to go to the dollar bill changer. And I'm here to serve the public. That's one of the hardest things on me all day, is giving change out to the public. But sometimes I get away and hide. So I like the public. I know my people. They've been coming here for 15 years, some of them, in my laundromat, doing their clothes.
I check on some of my customers. If they don't show up, I worry about them. And I'll say, have you seen old John today? And they'll say, no. And he might be sick, so somebody goes and checks on him. Sometimes it turns out that's what really happens. So you get involved with your customers, and you worry about them if they're eating right, or maybe they're drinking a little too much, or they're not taking medication like they should be. We got some people that don't drink at all. I know they're on medication. I'll say, have you taken your medicine today?
I don't care how big the bank is. People on the outside are the ones that can keep your bank open, and if they have confidence in the personnel of the bank, you'll be able to go through with it.
The banks, for example, the high interest rates, it looks like we're not going to have small business. There's no way they can make it. 15% you cannot pay. You cannot pay 15% and stay in business when your marginal profit today is like 2 or 3% after taxes.
You can buy something today, and by the time you sell it off and buy it again, say next week or next month, your profit's all gone. It costs you what you make on it to replace it. So there's just not a whole lot that you can do about it, only just hope for the best. That's all I can say.
We were going to start this type of business today at the scope that it's at now, or the level that it's at now. I don't believe that it would be possible to do. Your cost of acquiring the properties, the facility, the phones, the papers, the copiers, the typewriters, is almost prohibitive.
There's going to be a lot of people squeezed out. You can every time you pick up a news bulletin or anything, this one or that one's went out of business, or that company or this one shut down. I think one thing we're going to have to do, though, is people's going to have to live. I mean, get along on less and work harder at it if we make a go of it now.
Regard to our welfare and social programs in the state of West Virginia and all over the country, wherever, There are a lot of things under the welfare program, and I don't feel it should be.
We've had enough. Enough is enough. We're not going to spend any more money. We don't want any more people hired, and we do not want any more government money. This government money has to come somewhere, and it comes from somebody's pockets.
I think what gets to the people is the fact that we have some people that don't work, that have been on welfare their lives, their children's on them, and their children's on them.
There's generation after generation of people that is on public welfare. This should not be. There's got to be a better way.
That if you draw it, you work for it. Or at least you come out at 8 o'clock in the morning and don't go home till 4 o'clock. Whether you do anything or not, at least you're off the streets and not laying in bed just drawing a check.
I don't care if a man's on crutches, he can make a list of work crews, this sort of thing. And I think that man's dignity can better be served by doing something and fulfilling his life than to be given things for nothing.
We have built in so many programs from the federal government to state government, to county government, to school systems. I don't know whether you could clean it up in a lifetime.
There are people, environmentalists, if you will, EPA, that are absolutely over-regulating. The government's over-regulating. They have got regulation on top of regulation, criticizing regulations, and these environmental people, a lot of them really and truly, and I mean this sincerely, don't know enough coming out of the rain.
I think there's a need for protecting our environment, but I think sometimes they go too far. One guy says put oil on the road of a strip job. The other says, no, you're polluting the streams. They don't know, one doesn't know what the other is doing.
As long as we do not hurt our neighbors, no one wants to ruin a stream. No one's going to ruin a stream. We have the Department of Natural Resources in West Virginia that's a beautiful outfit.
Now's the time for this state. We've got all kinds of coal. We've got all kinds of energy. The federal government isn't letting us mine this coal, and we ought to tell the federal government just to go to hell.
Why do we need a bunch of guys out of Philadelphia or New York to come down here and tell our people how to manage the hills in West Virginia and the streams in West Virginia? We have been mining coal in West Virginia since, my Lord, back in the 20s. Well, in fact, since the beginning of West Virginia.
That's strip mining. You certainly make your money in a hurry and you're gone. People living here are living in one of the best sections of West Virginia.
The job opportunities in Buchanan are relatively limited if you look at it on the surface. On the surface, it looks like a very few light industrial concerns and mining, and that looks on the surface to be it. But in reality, there are a number of jobs, a variety of jobs here, some of which the people have created out of necessity.
The city of Buchanan financially is in sound shape, will remain in sound shape because it's built on a business-like basis, not on a, it's a nonpartisan board, council, a nonpartisan mayor. They use sound judgment. They have to have a balanced budget. If they don't have the money, they can't spend it.
I feel as though that the town is growing. We need an automatic car wash here, and the public are asking me, and I am doing it. We need one here. If I don't put one in, someone else will. And I feel as though my tomatoes ripe, and that's when I pick them.
Well, it's a good time. We've had pretty good times in the last 15 or 20 years. You know that. And people's got money now that they didn't have years ago. And a kid come along and say, Dad, give me $1 or give me $5. Well, they usually get it. And back when we was kids growing up, they didn't have that to give.
It's, we have things pretty good in this country. I don't want to go back 40 years, I'll tell you.
If I had it to do over, I'd live it just like I have. Or I think I would. I didn't, you know. There may be some changes, but not that many.
Maybe I was a little too venturesome and so forth, but it paid off, that's all.
If I had to, I could go out and open up a little hot dog stand along the road somewhere. I know I could make it. I might not get rich, but I'd survive.
It's up to yourself. If you want to make it, okay, you can make it.
I've always looked at it this way. If I fail at this today or something happens and this business dissolves, well, I'll pick up and I'll go on and I'll do something else, as everyone that works for me would do themselves. It's just that that's the way it is. And it's not something that hangs like a black cloud over our head. It's just, that's the way it is.